Hi, and welcome to Fun Maths with Kenny. It's the GCSE Non-Calculator Foundation paper for 2025 Edexcel. I got this paper from Maths Genie. Shout out to them. They have lots of wonderful past questions, solutions, and all of them. So stay tuned. Let's solve it together. All right, let's begin with the first few questions. 0.7 as a percentage, this is simply 70%. So you multiply by 100 anytime you change it into a percentage. So you just move two places to the right, 70%. Number two, we have addition and division. So usually you have to do division before addition. Remember, in board maths, you do division, multiplication first, addition and subtraction will come last. So 12 divided by 3, that will give you 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. The answer is 10. Then the next one, write down a multiple of 7 between 20 and 30. I think we can do these numbers if you count by 7. 7, 14, 21, 28. So you can use either 21 or 28, one multiple. We move to the next one. Question 4, 400 plus 139. This is easy, 539. Then the next one, work out 1/6 of 300. Off is the same as times, okay? So you can do up times up, divide by down. 1 times 300 is 300, and 300 divide by 6, okay? I'm sure most of you can do this, and that is 50. So the answer is 50. This is 0. Okay, we go to the next question. All right, we have this. Plot the coordinates to -1. Remember, it is x, then y. So x is 2, y is -1. This is where x is 2, y is -1. So at this exact point, okay, you can label this A. And then the next thing, write down the coordinates of the midpoint of BC. So anytime they say midpoint, okay, and it's quite common, all right. So midpoint of BC, you have, if you use a ruler between B and C, okay, the midpoint is going to be somewhere here, okay. And let's say 0, you have 0, 2.5. So x is 0, y is 2.5. So the other way by which you can do it is take x1 plus x2 divided by 2, okay, and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So to stick with this. All right, we go to question 7. 4 drinks for 1.45 each. So to get the total of the drinks, you take 1.45 times 4. Okay, you know each is 1. So one drink is 1.45. So 4 drinks, 1.45 times 4. That will give you 5.80. Then you have 2 identical cakes. Okay, they ask you for the cost of one cake. So what you can just do is this 1.60 change. So always add the change. This is the idea. The change plus the drinks plus the cakes will give you 10. Okay, so we've gotten for the drinks. Now let's add the change. So when you add the change, 5.80 plus 1.60, that will give you 7.40. Okay, so all of those things cost 7.40. So the cake is what you add to 7.40 to get 10. So 10 minus 7.40, don't forget that 10 is 10.00. So 10.00, take away 7.40, and that will give you 2.60. So 2.60 for 2 cakes. Now you need for 1 cake, you're just going to divide 2.60 divided by 2, okay, and that will give you 1.30. I hope you understand that. Okay, question 8. All right. This is pictogram. Okay, so the entire box for 8 books. That means each of the boxes is 2 books. So if they draw just a tiny box, okay, that will be 2 books. Now the first question, write the number of books so they match. So match is 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 2. So 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 2 is 26. So you got 26 books sold in March. Then the next thing they're asking, 14 books were sold in April. Okay, show this information on the pictogram. So 14 in April. Remember, the full box is 8. So you got 8. 8 plus what is 14? Sorry, it's not perfect, but it looks like it. So 8 plus what is 14? 8 plus 6. So that means you're going to draw 6. Each box is 2. So if you're going to draw 6, you will have one other box. Okay, so something like this to make it 14. Now, the next thing they said, find the total for the 4 months. So the total is addition. We're going to add for the 4 months. And how do we do that? So you get for each of these, okay, and add it together. It's pretty much easy. This is 8, 8. That is 16. 16 plus 4. So you got 20. And then 8, 8, 8. That's 24. Okay. And we already know March. March was 26. Okay. Then April 14. So when you add these numbers together, 20 plus 24, that's, you add them all together, that will give you 84. So you got 84 in total. Okay. Then we continue to the next question. Okay, 20 students were asked to, okay, bar chart. So what you need to just do, bar charts are simple. You need to label. Okay, so you're going, since you're comparing two things in the bar chart, so year 7, year 8, you need to have, like, okay, I'll just do a part of it. Year 7 digestive, for example, is 5. So let's say the normal, this is for year 7. You have to put the label there that this is for year 7. And when you're drawing for year 8, you could have the one that has like maybe stars on it. Okay, star, 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 something like that. So let's say, so this star is for year 8. Now digestive is 5 and 4. So when you label, don't forget you start from 0, so you have to put the number. Okay, so let's say this is 2, 4, and this is 6. So digestive is 5 and 4. So this is 5 here. So if you were to draw the first bar, okay, you got 5 and you got 4. So the grade 7 is a normal one. Grade 8, add the star. So you have to like put the stars there to demonstrate that, okay, this is grade 8, and you have to label it as well. Okay, that was digestive. So you have the digestive there, in full and stuff. So this is quite easy. Most of you I know can do this. We focus on the questions that give trouble. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to this one. Caleb makes a cola drink. He's doing it. Okay. He asks 80 people if they prefer cola A or cola B. 41 are men. So if 41 out of 80 are men, how many are women? You just do the subtraction. 80 minus 41. Okay. That will give you 39. So 39 are women. And then the next thing they said, 22 of the 50 that prefer cola A are women. Okay, so prefer cola A, 22 are women. So if 22 out of 50 are women, that means men are 50 minus 22 that prefer A. That's 28. Okay. Then total men are 41. Then 28 prefer A. So you're going to subtract 41 minus 28. That will give you 13. You have 13 here. And here 39 minus 22. That will give you 17 here. Okay, so quite easy. Now the next thing they said, find the probability that, okay, one of the people who prefer cola B is chosen at random. Find the probability that this person is a woman that prefer cola B. Okay, so looking at it, prefer cola B. Okay, how many people prefer cola B? That's 13 plus 17, which is 30. Now, the woman is 17. So, what's the probability? 17 out of the total that prefer B. So, 17 over 30. All right, that is that. We go to the next one. Find the size of the angle marked X. Now, this is an isosceles triangle. And one thing you have to know about isosceles triangles is that the base angles and the base sides are equal. So if that is X, this is also X. Okay. So how do you get X? Remember that these two form a straight line. Sum of angles on a straight line is 180. So how do I get X? I can simply do 180 minus 118. So 180 minus 118, okay, and that will give you 62 degrees. So X is 62. And then find Y. So if X is 62 here, remember the other side is also 62. This is 62 as well. So you add 62 plus 62, and sum of angles in a triangle is 180. So you add 62 plus 62, take away from 180. So 180 minus that, okay, and that will give you 56 degrees. Yeah. 180 minus 124. That will give you 56 degrees for Y. Give reasons for your answer. Sum of angles on a straight line is 180 degrees, and the sum of angles in a triangle, okay, is also 180 degrees. You can also mention that the base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. All right. Question 12. There are 28 red counters and 42 blue. Write the ratio. So ratio is simply division. 28 divided by 42. What would divide? 7 would divide. So 7 in 28 has to be 4. 7 in 42 is going to give you 6. Okay. Then you can use 2 to divide. 2 here, 2, 2 here, 3. So this is 2 over 3. And simply put 2 ratio 3, just like that. All right, so the next question, 13. The question is describe the transformation that maps A to B. What is the transformation? So from A to B, you can see that this is an enlargement, okay? Enlargement by a scale factor of 1, because B is bigger than A, okay? So it's an enlargement. Now, if you look at this, this is 2, and this side is 4. Another thing, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is 3. So definitely B was multiplied by 2. So this is an enlargement by a scale factor of 2. Okay, an enlargement by a scale factor of 2. So enlargement by scale factor of 2. And then what is the center? How do you get the center? So to get the center, they are all going to meet up at a point. Okay, you're going to find where they all meet up. All right, so if I try to looking at it, okay, I can come down a bit. All of them can meet up at this point. Okay, when you draw them all, sorry, I'm not using a ruler, but when you're doing it, you have to use a ruler, please. Okay, take note. So they all meet up at that point. All of them. Okay, they all meet up at that point. So you can now, okay, so the center is going to be 6, -7. I'll just put them here. So don't forget that I mentioned that this is an enlargement by a scale factor of 2. 14. We have a number line, okay? When the input is 15, you just put in 15 right here, okay? So the input is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. 21 divided by 3, that is 7. So that's 7. Now, here is a different machine. When the input is 6, okay, The output is 44. Complete this number machine. So what do we do? 44, if you're starting from the output, you do the reverse. So if you're going from output to input, 44 divided by 4 will give you 11. Okay, so how do you get 11? You can only get 11 here when you do plus 5. So 6 plus 5 is 11. Then 11 times 4 is 44. So the answer there is plus 5. Okay, we move to the next one. We have this question 15. Work out the value of P. So P is equal to 4x plus 3y. So 4x is 4 times x. That means 4 times 3 right there plus 3y. 3y will be 3 times negative 2. And then you add them together. So 4 times 3 will give you 12. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. 12 minus 6, and that is 6. Expand 3a plus 3b. Okay, so you just multiply the one outside by the one inside. 3 times a will give you 3a. All right. So 3 times a is simply 3a, and 3 times b is 3b. So you got 3a right here plus 3b. Okay, we go to the next one. 5x minus 6 is equal to 45. What do? You can start by dividing both sides by 5. Divide by 5 on the left, divide by 5 on the right. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, 45 divided by 5 is 9. So meaning x minus 6 is equal to 9. Okay, so if x minus 6 is equal to 9, then x is 9 plus 6. Okay, negative 9 goes to the other side, becomes positive. So 9 plus 6 is 15. And you can say that your x is equal to 15. And that works. Okay, we move on to the next one. Here is a list of ingredients for making 20 muffins. Gary wants to make 50 muffins. How much sugar does it need? Okay, so how do you get 50? You get 50 by doing 20 plus 20 plus 10. Okay, so 20 muffins is going to use 250 grams sugar. So 250 plus 250. Now, if 20 we use 250, 10 we use half of 250, and half of 250 is 125. So you add the 250 plus 250 plus 125. And at the end of the day, this gives you 5 here, then 12, 2, and then 6. So you're going to use 625 grams, just like that. Okay, we proceed to the next one. Selena takes an exam. The exam is out of 60 marks. She needs to score 80%. So 80%, you can do it this way, the easy way. Find 10%, then multiply by 8 to get 80%. Anytime you're looking for 10%, you divide by 10. So you have 60 divided by 10, and that will give you 6. Okay, so 1 is 6. Now we need 80%. That's 10% 8 times. So you do 6 times 8, and that will give you 48. Okay, so she needs to score at least 80%, which is 48 marks. Now she got 50 marks, which is more than 48. So she definitely passed the exam. Okay, we move to question 18. 3 kilograms of potatoes cost 2.25. So to get for 1 kilogram, you divide. You always go right, divide by left. So if you take the 2.25 and then you divide by 3, which most of you can do easily. So when you divide 2.25 divide by 3, that will give you 0.75. So 1 kilogram of potatoes is 0.75. Now you would need 4 kilograms of potatoes later. So 0.75 multiply by 4 or add in 4 places, which is going to give you 3. Okay, I know that because 75 two places is 150. 150 two places is going to give you 3. So that will give you 3 pounds. Now, they now told you that 2 kilograms of potatoes, okay, and 4 kilograms of onions cost this. So 1 kilogram of potatoes we got as 0.75. So 2 kilograms of potatoes will be 0.75 multiplied by 2. That will give you 1.50. So 1.50 plus 4 kilograms of onions. Okay, so let's say 4x, and that will give us 5.10. So how do you get 4x? 5.10 subtract 1.50. Okay, so when you do that, that will give you 3.60. So 4 kilograms of onions will be 3.60. And how do you find 1 kilogram of onions? You divide by 4, divide by 4. Okay, so when you do that, X is going to give you 0.90. So 1 kilogram of onions is 0.90. So the question says find 1 kilograms of onions, 0.90, plus 4 kilograms of potatoes, which was 3.00. So when you add them together, that will give you 3.90. Yeah, so you get 3.90. You just need to follow through with the calculations. All right, so we get to 19. Find the total surface area of the prism. How do we get that? You need to get the area of each face, okay? Then you now add together. So let's come to this. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 2, this is 6, okay? And then in the next one, we have 5 at the back. It's still the same. The front and back are the same, right? So area of a triangle, base times height over 2, 3 times 4, 12 over 2. So at the back, you have 6 as well. Now, on this bottom, 4 times 12 is a rectangle. That's 48, okay? On the other side, you have 3 times 12. That's a rectangle as well. That's 36. Then this long one right here is 5 times 12, and that's 60. So by the time you add them up together, you add the 60 plus the 48 plus 12 plus 36. That will give you 156 centimeters squared. Okay, 156 centimeters squared. Don't forget what we did. We get the area of each face, then we add it together. That gives us 156. Okay, so here is a cuboid. There's a cuboid, and then the value of x. Remember, volume of a cuboid is length times breadth times height. So when they give you volume and they give you the length and the breadth, you're looking for the height. 4 times 12 is 48. So just take your 120, divide by 48. Okay, volume is area times the height. So when you do the division, you can use 12. 12 here, 10. And 12 here will give you 4 as well. So 2 here is 5, and 2 here is 2. So 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. So 2.5 centimeters. Do not forget your units, centimeters. Okay, we go to 20. And in this question, we have 6.84 divided by 0.12. So 6.84 divided by 0.12. So what do? Move 2 places to the right. Okay, so you go 1, 2 and go 1, 2. That gives you 684 divided by 12. And this can divide. Okay, so when we move 1, 2, we'll multiply by 100. Multiply by 100 down, multiply by 100 up, so that you get rid of the decimal point. And after getting rid of the decimal point, of course, you can do the calculation. So 12 in 68 has to be 5, because 12 times 5 is 60. Then you got a remainder of 8. 12 in 84 is 7. And the answer, 12 in 12, of course, is 1. Okay, 57 over 1, and that is 57. So that's the answer. All right, we proceed quickly. So don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Okay, this is Fun Maths with Kenny, and here we help you with all this calculation. So we go to 21. A plane travels at a speed of 298 miles per hour. Work out an estimate. So round up to 98. That gives you 300 miles per hour. Work out the number of estimates. So what do you do? 300 miles is going to give you 1 hour. 1 hour is 60 minutes. Okay. So you need to get, so 300 miles in 60 minutes. You need to get for 1 mile. Okay. And how do you do that? So to get for, okay, to travel 1 mile, you can first of all divide by 60. Okay. So if you divide by 60, divide by 60, this will give you 5. And this will give you 1. So 5 miles will go in 1 minute. Okay, so don't forget 1 minute, if you divide by 60, 1 minute is 60 seconds. So 5 miles will go in 60 seconds. So you need to get for 1 mile by doing 60 divided by 5, which will give you 12. All right, so 1 mile is simply going to be 12 seconds. Okay, in 1 mile is going to go 12 seconds. Is this an underestimate or an overestimate? So this is clearly an overestimate because we took 300, which is more than 298. So this is an overestimate. Okay, we go to the next one. We're almost done. Now pay attention to this kind of question in 22 because it's very common. A ratio B is 2 to 3 and B ratio C is 5 to 4. So this is what you do. When you're doing this, they give you B twice. So you have to make B the same number so you get just one ratio. So A to B is 2 to 3, as you can see, and then B to C is 5 to 4. Okay, B to C will give you 5 to 4. So we need to make B the same. And how do you make B the same? What number can B become on both sides? It can become 15. And how does B become 15? 3 times 5 is 15. So you have to do times 5 to these two because they're on the same side of the ratio. Okay. Then 5 times 3 is 15. So you have to do times 3 on this side because they're on the same side. So you do times 3, you do times 3 here. All right. So let's go. 2 times 5 is 10. This is 10. And 3 times 5 is 15. So just like we're expecting, this is also 15. 5 times 3 is 15. And 4 times 3 will give you 12. Okay. So you got 10, 15. Now you can pick just one of the 15. So you have 10 to 15. Okay. To 12. So that will be A to B to C. Now we go to this next one. D is equal to 3E and E is equal to 4F. How do you solve it? So if you're finding D to F, D is 3E, by the way, okay? And F is E over 4. You know, if you divide both sides by 4 here, so F is E over 4 because 4 was going to cancel. So F is E over 4. So this is 3E ratio E over 4. So what do you do? Multiply both sides by 4. We need to get rid of the fraction. So when you do times 4 times 4, this is 12E ratio E. Because on the right side, okay, let me put this ratio properly. So 4 we cancel 4. Now 12 will divide 12 and that will give you 12 ratio 1. So the answer is 12 to 1. 12 ratio 1. Okay, we're almost done. All right, so here we're adding fractions, okay, 2, 3 over 4. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this by now. Make the denominators the same. So you can add the mixed number, 5 whole number. You make this times 3 on both sides, okay? Times 3 up, times 3 down. It's very, very important they have the same denominator. So that'll be 3 times 3, 9 over 12. And then on the other side, you go times 4 times 4. So when you go times 4 times 4, that will give you 4 over 12. Okay. So this is 5 whole number, 13 over 12. What do you do to 13 over 12? You make it a mixed number. Okay, so 13 over 12 is 1 whole number, 1 over 12. So 5 plus 1 over 12, that will give you 6 whole number, 1 over 12. Okay, show that this is this. Now, when you're dividing, keep change flip. 1 3 over 5, that will give you 8 over 5 times. Now, that's 6. You're going to flip it. Okay, in division, you flip the 1 on the right. So the 6 is 6 over 1. When you flip it, it becomes 1 over 6. Okay, so you have 1 over 6 here. Now, if you divide it, up times up over down, 8 over 30. So when you simplify 8 over 30, 2 here, 4, 2 here, 15. That gives you 4 over 15. So that absolutely works. Correct one is equal to 4 over 15. You need to show the keep change flip. Okay. All right, we go to the next one. We have a large box. Okay. How do you get area? The length times the width gives you area. So 3 times 2 is 6. You have the force, okay? You have the area. So what do you do? Just follow the formula. It's given right here. Force over area. So area is 3 times 2, which is 6. 900 divided by 6, that gives you 150. So the answer is 150 newtons per meter square. Okay, we proceed to the next one. Okay, we have this question, number 25. Here is a rectangle. All measurements are in centimeters. Now, what you have to see here is this. The length of a rectangle, the one up and the one down, are the same, right? So this and this are the same, meaning that if you make them equal, you can get x. 5x minus 7 is equal to 2x plus 8. So what do? You bring the 2x. 3x is equal to 15. And what is x? X is 5. So if x is 5, what is the length? You just put it in the equation. If x is 5, that means you have 5x, 5 times 5, which is 25. 25 minus 7 is 18. Okay, if you use the one down, you get 18 as well. So the length is 18. Now the area was 36. Y is the width. You know, area is the length times the width, right? 18 times what will give you 36. It has to be 18 times 2. Okay, so that is why the answer is 2 centimeters, because the unit is centimeters. So you have 2 right there. Okay, we proceed to the next one. Adam, Billy, and Charlie shared 360 in the ratio 4:3:2. How much money does Billy get? So to get how much money Billy gets, you need to get for one part. And how do you get for one part? Take note that Adam is gonna get 4 parts. Okay, Billy will get 3 parts, and Charlie will get 2 parts. Okay, so how do you get one part? Add the ratios together. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. So total ratio is 9. Then divide the 360. Okay, divide 360 by 9. And that will give you 40. So one share is 40. Now Billy is going to get 3 parts. Okay, so you do 3 times 40, which is 120. Okay, so we move to the next one. The equation of a line is this, and then equation of line 2 is it show that they're parallel. So for two equations to be parallel, okay, for two lines to be parallel, it means that they have the same slope. Okay, so don't forget your slope intercept format. Y equals mx plus c. Very important. Y is mx plus c. So if you look at it, the slope in the first line, okay, is 3 because mx, the number beside x, that's 3. So slope is 3. Now we need to prove that the second one has a slope of 3 as well. And how do we do that? We have the equation. Let's collect like terms. Assuming y is on the left, okay, negative 6x goes to the right, becomes positive 6x plus 4 goes to the right, becomes negative 4. That's 6x minus 4. So what do? Divide each part of the equation by 2. So when you divide by 2, divide by 2. You can say you go y equals 3x minus 2. Remember, slope is m beside x. So slope here is also 3. The y-intercept doesn't matter. So the fact that slope is 3, that means those two lines are parallel because they have the same slope. It was 3 in the first one, 3 in the second one that we got. So they're parallel. Okay, let's look at this question. Question 28. Okay. Three pentagons meeting at a point. Work out the size of x. So how do we get they say regular pentagons. When they say polygons are regular, that means they have the same, they have the same size. Okay, the angles are the same. So inside this pentagon has 5 sides, as you can see. So these 3 angles are the same. Now, this is your strategy. If you know each of these angles, okay, you can just times 3 to get the 3 of them. And then after times 3 to get the 3 of them, you have the x. All of these meet at a point. And angles at a point is 360 degrees. So if you add each of them. Now, how do we know each of these angles? The formula for sum of interior angles is n minus 2 times 180. And n is the number of sides in the polygon, okay? So n in this case, n is, there are 5 sides. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 times 180. So 3 times 180 is 540. So each of these angles, they add up to 540. And there are 5 equal angles. So you divide 540 by 5. And that will give you 108. Okay. So each of these angles is 108 degrees. 108, 108, and 108. So the next thing, how do we find x? All angles at a point add up to 360. So you got 108 in 3 places, okay? So if you do 108 times 3, and that will give you for 324 degrees. So the 3 pentagon angles add up to 324. Take away from 360. Since with the x add up to 360. So 360 minus 324, that will give you 36. So that tells you that this angle is 36 degrees. Thank you for watching Fun Maths with Kenny. I hope you learned something from this video. Please subscribe and like this video so we can keep posting more like this. Good luck with your exam. See you in the next one. Bye.
Like and subscribe for more fun math videos at Fun Math with Kenny. Thanks for watching.